My son visited last spring and walked into my kitchen. He stopped, looked around, and said, "Dad, when did you become a tech person?" I laughed because I'm not a tech person, never have been. But somewhere between 65 and 64, I stopped being proud of doing everything the hard way and started being honest about what actually makes my days easier, safer, and more enjoyable. Today, I want to share 9 of those things, not because they're impressive, because they work. I am 64 years old, and I want to say something that took me longer than it should have to accept. There is no virtue in struggling unnecessarily. Our generation was raised on self-sufficiency, on doing things yourself the right way without shortcuts, and that value served us well for decades, built our character, built our lives. But somewhere along the way, self-sufficiency became stubbornness, refusing help from people or from tools because accepting it felt like admitting something we didn't want to admit. I was guilty of this for years, refused to use anything that felt like a concession to age, kept doing things the hard way long after the hard way stopped making sense. Then I started paying attention to what the smartest, most capable people I knew were actually doing, and I noticed something. They weren't struggling through things out of pride. They were using every good tool available to them and spending the energy they saved on the things that actually mattered. That's what these 9 things did for me. They gave me back time, energy, and peace of mind that I was wasting on friction I didn't need. Some of these will be familiar, a few might surprise you, and one of them, number 7, is something I resisted for 2 full years before I finally tried it. I wish I hadn't waited. Before I get to number 2, I want to tell you about the moment I finally changed my mind about all of this. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon, and it involved a jar of pickles. I'll tell you the whole story in a few minutes, but first, let's start with the one that made the biggest difference fastest. The first thing is a voice assistant, Amazon Echo, Google Home, whichever one fits your preference. I know what you're thinking. I thought the same thing. Too complicated, too much like something from a science fiction movie, not for someone my age. I was wrong. Here is what I actually use it for every single day. Setting timers when my hands are covered in flour or grease, asking what the weather is before I decide whether to walk, calling my daughter without finding my phone and navigating the screen, playing the radio station I like without touching anything, reminding me to take my medication at the same time every evening. None of those things are complicated. All of them save me small but real amounts of friction every day, and friction accumulated over a day, over a week, over a year, wears you down more than you realize until it stops. My friend Gerald resisted for 3 years. His granddaughter finally set one up during a visit. He called me 2 weeks later and said, "I've been talking to this thing more than I talk to most people I know." He meant it as a joke, but he also meant it. Second, automatic prescription delivery. If you are still driving to the pharmacy every month to pick up medications you take every single month, stop. Most pharmacies now offer automatic refill and home delivery. Many insurance plans cover it completely. This one sounds almost too simple to mention, but I know men and women in their 70s who still make the pharmacy run a regular errand, in traffic, in weather, when they're not feeling well, out of pure habit. The habit is not serving you. The medication is. Get the medication delivered and spend that time and energy on something that actually matters to you. Third, motion sensor nightlights throughout the house. Not glamorous, not impressive, completely essential. Falls at night are one of the leading causes of serious injury for adults over 65. Not because we're careless, because we get up in the dark in a half-asleep state and navigate by memory rather than by sight. Motion sensor lights in the hallway, the bathroom, the kitchen, they come on automatically. They're bright enough to see clearly, and they turn off on their own. You never have to think about them. They just work. I put them in after a close call 2 winters ago. I've never looked back. Now, the pickle jar story. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was making lunch and couldn't get the lid off a jar. Spent 4 minutes fighting with it, hurt my wrist. Finally got it open, but barely. And I stood there in my kitchen thinking, I just spent 4 minutes and some real physical effort on a pickle jar. That's insane. That's when I started paying attention to what else I was fighting with unnecessarily. Which brings me directly to number 4. Fourth, adaptive kitchen tools, starting with an electric can and jar opener. After the pickle jar incident, I started looking at my kitchen differently. What else was I fighting with every day that had an easier solution? Electric jar opener, life-changing. Larger grip utensils, genuinely easier to use. A good lightweight electric kettle instead of the heavy stovetop one. A jar opener mat that gives grip without requiring strength. None of these are medical devices. None of them are admissions of anything. They are simply better tools for the job, the way a power drill is a better tool than a hand screwdriver. We don't feel diminished using the power drill. We shouldn't feel diminished using tools that make the kitchen easier either.
Fifth, video calling and actually using it regularly. FaceTime, Zoom, WhatsApp video, whichever one your family uses. I resisted this for years, preferred the phone, still do for some conversations, but video calling does something a phone cannot. It lets you see the person, their face, their expression, whether they look well, whether they look tired, whether something is off. When my daughter moved across the country 4 years ago, video calling went from a novelty to a genuine lifeline. We have coffee together on Sunday mornings, she in her kitchen, me in mine. It sounds small. It is not small. If you haven't made video calling a regular part of your week, start this Sunday. Pick one person. Schedule it. It will become one of the things you look forward to most. Sixth, grocery delivery or curbside pickup. I use grocery delivery twice a month. Not every week. I still enjoy the occasional trip to the store. But the weeks when the weather is bad, or my energy is low, or I simply have better things to do with 2 hours, the groceries arrive at my door. The objection I always hear is, but I like to pick my own produce. Fair. Use curbside pickup. You order online, they shop, you collect it without leaving your car. Best of both worlds. The hours I've reclaimed from grocery logistics over the past 3 years, I've spent them reading, walking, working on projects I care about, talking to people I love. That trade is not a close call. Seventh, the one I resisted for 2 full years, a medical alert system. I know exactly what reaction that phrase produces. I had the same one. The image of the television commercial, the pendant around the neck, the admission that something might go wrong. I didn't want any part of it. Then my doctor said something that cut through all of that resistance. He said, Solon, the alert system isn't for you when you're fine. It's for the 12 minutes between when something goes wrong and when someone finds out. Those 12 minutes are the ones that matter. 12 minutes. That reframing changed everything for me. I got the system, wore it for 3 months without ever using it, and in those 3 months, something surprising happened. I felt less anxious, not more aware of danger, less anxious, because I knew that if something did happen, those 12 minutes were covered. The peace of mind is real. The freedom it gives you to live alone, to move through your house, to do things independently without a nagging awareness of risk is worth far more than any embarrassment about wearing it. I wore mine for 6 months before I told my children I had it. When I finally told them, my son went quiet for a moment and then said, Dad, why didn't you get that sooner? Why didn't I? Pride, the same pride that had me fighting pickle jars. Don't wait 2 years like I did. Eighth, e-readers and audiobooks. My eyesight is not what it was at 50. Reading small print for extended periods is genuinely tiring in a way it never used to be. For years, I just read less, which meant I was losing one of the things I loved most about my own life. An e-reader fixed that. Adjustable text size, backlit screen, lightweight, lighter than most paperbacks. I read more now than I did at 60, every night before bed, on the porch in the morning, anywhere. And audiobooks for the walks, for the drives, for the times when my eyes are tired but my mind wants something. A good narrator reading a good book on a morning walk is one of the genuine pleasures available to us at this age. Don't miss it because the format seems unfamiliar. Ninth and final, automatic bill payment for every recurring expense. Every bill that comes on a predictable schedule, utilities, insurance, subscriptions, mortgage, or rent, should be on auto pay, every single one. Not because you can't manage them manually, because managing them manually takes mental energy. The low-grade awareness that something is due, the act of remembering and logging in and paying, the occasional late fee when life gets busy. That mental energy freed up across 12 months adds up to something real. It's the cognitive equivalent of the grocery delivery, hours and attention reclaimed from logistics and given back to living. Set it up once, check it quarterly to make sure nothing has changed, and stop giving your mental bandwidth to tasks that can run themselves. Here is your one action for today. Look at this list of 9. Pick the one you've been meaning to try but keep putting off, the one that sounds useful but hasn't quite made it to the top of the list yet. Do one thing today to move it forward. Look it up, ask your grandchild to help you set it up, order it, make the call. Just one, today. Because the time and energy these things give back, you can spend on something that matters, on the people you love, on the projects that excite you, on the mornings that are yours. That's worth a little friction of getting started. Tell me in the comments which of these 9 do you already use, and which one are you most skeptical about? I'm genuinely curious, because the ones people are most skeptical about are usually the ones that surprise them most. And next time, I want to talk about the 9 things I got rid of after 65 that made my life immediately better. Sometimes what you remove matters more than what you add. I'll see you then.